gonna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Hello everyone, this is Austin Easy on Sugar Packet Gaming. Today we're going to begin this long process of getting up a Pixelmon server modified to look and play just like Hoenn, as you see in the Ruby and Sapphire games. Today we're going to start from the very basics about what we're kind of looking forward to, and we're going to lead into the creation of the world as well as modifying some of the background files to get it where we need it to be, to have it more look like Pokemon the game rather than, you know, Pixelmon the Minecraft thing. At any rate, you're going to see a couple things here. First, we are running Minecraft 1.7.10 because that's just where Forge and the Pixelmon mods are. Speaking of that, we are running the very latest Forge version that was available at the time of this recording, which was January 2nd. So we are at 10.13.2.12.77. So that was the latest Forge version available. Speaking of which, there was a Pixelmon update on Christmas Day, so that puts it at 3.3.8. And that is what we are currently running with to get this all started. So, we are going to eventually turn this into a playable server kind of thing, but we are going to start off here in just regular mode because you can switch out world files and things like that. And we'll get into it later when we can, but for today, we're going to go right into single player. We're going to create a new world, and we are going to call this Pixelmon Hoenn, and we're going to change this to a creative. And we need some... Nope, we don't want the structures. Super flat is good. Ooh, customizing super flat. I forgot we could do this. Well, I think for what we're doing, because Hoenn is basically a big island, and we're going to be using MC Edit to put in the big oceans part of these things. Leaving it as grass is not going to hurt us much, so we're going to say done with that. And bonus chest is definitely off. That looks good, so we'll say done, and create new world. So as this is going through and it's creating the world for us, we are going to notice several things that are going on in a straight out of the box, haven't changed anything kind of Pixelmon world. There are a few things that are probably going to make us redo this world over again, which is okay, because as we're going through the settings and everything, we are going to... Oh, that's right, this is a Pixelmon thing. So, yep. And this is one of the things that we're talking about. When you start a Hoenn, we definitely want to have Trico, Mudkip, and Torchic, but Cyndaquil and Charmander, Chimchar, and Tepig, those guys, all of these are too much. So it's one of the things we're going to go over today, how to fix that. So we are going to keep going. I think for the record, Mudkip, because he's water ground, ends up being statistically, versus all the other, like the gyms and the Elite Four, he's the one that's the strongest in this game. So here we go. We are now in our super flat world, and it keeps saying E, so we'll do that. Yay, E. We got our achievement. Let's get back out of here. Okay, you can clearly see that there are some Arbok running around, some other stuff off in the distance. Plenty of Pokemon, and we'll call them inappropriate Pokemon right off the bat. Come on, jump up, there we go. And one of the things that Pixelmon does is auto-generate these guys, which is our Pokecenters. So all by itself, Pixelmon has created a nice flat world for us, populated it with every single pixel or Pokemon that's available at the time, and even given us the resources we need to start playing the game. So you can go in here and we see that we've got the places to heal our Pokemon, places to trade, all that kind of stuff is already available in these naturally formed things. So as we talked about, there are a few things that we have to do in order to kind of configure this to make sure that we have the Pokemon experience as close to that Hoenn thing as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit out of this world here real quick. And we're going to bring up something that's known as the Pixelmon CFG file. And if you're not sure where that's at, you need to go into your Pokemon folder where all the game stuff is at, right? And I've created a special one just for this showcase. We've got here Pixelmon Minecraft, and you're going to want to find the config. So it's the same one where you got your mods, because when we've got the Pixelmon the 3.3.8 here. So it's that same location for that, because in your config file it makes this guy, which is the Pixelmon CFG, and the CFG is just all the different settings and things that you can do that. So if I were going to click on this, we get this come up. It's our configuration file. So let's take a look at all the stuff that's in there, and we're going to go through the ones that are necessary to make our server work and have it be possible. And there's a lot of stuff that we aren't going to touch. There are plenty of places out there on Google. If you want to look up some of these specifics, you can. First and foremost, the AFK handler. If you, as a player, dogs are barking, you run outside and you're in the middle of the battle, so the AFK is away from keyboard handler. It's like if you want the computer to take over battling for you, that's what this is. So these guys talk about how it works, and right here this third one says, do you want them to take over? And right now it's set to false, so that means it never would happen. And we're going to keep it that way. We want the player to do it, not the computer. So next part is about breeding. A couple updates ago, I think it was the 3.3.3, the Halloween one, if I'm not mistaken, is when they introduced breeding into Pixelmon. And the way they do it in Pixelmon is quite different than the way they do it in the old Ruby and Sapphire version. So we are not going to allow that to run here. So this one here, prevents the crafting of ranch blocks. We're not going to allow crafting of any sort because of the way the game is run, but we want to still change this to false. And again, if disabled, prevents the placing of ranch blocks, because there is a way for the Pokemon themselves to drop these ranch blocks, and we're going to turn that all off. But I'm a big fan of double safeguards. It's a programming kind of thing. You want to make sure in two different places that the same thing happens. I know it's redundant and some people get really mad at me for it, but never too many safeguards to help that kind of thing. Right here, just remove the rest expansion from the game. Again, false. And for the record, if you wanted to, that's the only one. This third one here, that's the only one that you would really need to do to get all of that taken care of. But again, having these is not going to hurt you, that kind of thing. So since those three guys are now done, the rest of these become irrelevant because we're not going to be breeding. None of these rest of these happen, so I'm not going to go through them right now. You want to go look them back up, you certainly can. The general area here, the general area is where we're going to start talking about what's going on in specifics as far as our game. And so this first one, well, I'm not going to go point by point by point. Again, we're going to talk about certain things that we need specifically for us. 18 types of gem to be dropped by the bosses. So this stuff, things about gems, and a little bit later they talk about hourglasses and the birds, things like that. Those are little mini games that the people that make Pixelmon put into there. They're straight out. So if you were making your own kind of independent free world away from Nintendo's kind of stuff, then those might be something interested to. But for us, we don't want to those to be in there because they're not part of what Nintendo did. They're the extra stuff. So allow the 18 types of gems to be dropped by bosses. No, allow the 18 types of gems to be crafted by players. Again, we're not going to be crafting, but we don't want that extra to be in there just in case. So allow PvP experience. Well, of course that's true. Yeah. What was the next thing on our list? We needed to train a rarity. That was the next one on my guess. All right, let's go down to it. Because a lot of these are what we do want to. Like, obviously, if you're on the server and another player asks you to battle, will you get experience from? Sure, you should. Allow players to plant acorns? No. That one is false. Because we made the super flat world, I'd be unable to show you that it doesn't generate trees like that. But in a regular world, they would have, along with the regular trees like the birch and the oak and things like that, you would have the special trees here that these guys had. And that, if you remember from the game, the apricorns were what you could pick and then turn into Pokeballs. And again, we're not going to deal with that in this particular game. Permits bosses to drop ranch upgrades. Nope, we just talked about that. That was one of the ways you can get around it. If the players don't craft it, the boss drops it. No. We turned it off, so again, we're going to make sure. Here we go. Allow random structures, generation of structures such as Poke Center, shrines, and other buildings. Allow structures to spawn. We're going to go with false. F-A-L-S-E. So, we're going to have a limited area here. We're going to have a very structured area, and it's going to be so. This would happen if you're going into new chunks. In our super flat world, if you just head north and kept going north, would you want things like Poke Centers? These shrines have to do with the legendary birds, Zapdos and Moltres and those guys. That's how they kind of do their thing here. And again, we don't want to deal with it. That's not part of what we're doing in this game. Determines if players versus trainer battles give Pokemon experience. Keep going here. Allow Pokemon nicknames. Vanilla mobs, no, of course we're taking out all the Minecrafty stuff, so that stays at false. We're not using bird shrines. Cloning machine enabled, no, we're taking that out. That has to do with Mewtwo, and yeah, it says even right there, allows the ability to clone Mew to Mewtwo. He's not part of this game, so we're taking it out. Point to steer, that's good. Otherwise it rides more like a boat and it's awful. Give starter on join, yes. Have HM to ride. So this one, according to the game, yes you do. You have to have an HM in order to ride it. You want to get on him when he's going across for surf. You want to get on him when he's going for fly. You got to have the HM to be able to do it. And this one, this particular thing here, this allows you to jump on basically any Pokemon and run around. So if you want to use your Blastoise to surf and then get up on land and climb a mountain with him, you can. But on this one, requires HM to be able to get on it. Fortunately, we're going to have to go true, because that's the way it works in the game. Excuse me. Let them drop the hourglass. Again, this has to do with ranching and breeding and stuff, so we're going to say false. So, this has to do with spawners, and your players are never going to be able to do that, so yes, we want to leave it opt. They must be opt to be able to touch the spawners, and that's true. How far away do you want to see them? We're going to leave it at default. Pokemon drops is true. Printer, that doesn't make a difference to you guys. Remove Minecraft music, yes. Scale up models, bird shrines, nope, we just talked about we don't want those in this game. Spawn gem shrines, also false, we don't want those. Spin camera battle, this is client side, so I know some people that hate it and some people that love it. I'm gonna leave it on the default right there, but you as a client that's playing on this server, you will be able to turn that off on your side, so this one is kind of irrelevant for us. Traders are reusable. Traders are special trainers, like you give me a Trico and I will give you a Slowpoke, that kind of guy. And usually once you do it, he goes away. So I guess if we're building a multiple server, he's got to be able to stick around, so we're going to say true. I don't know how often we're going to use these guys, but they should be able to do it multiple times, and why not? Because usually they're never legendaries anyway, so. Oh, this is the one we need to change here. This is the important one, so we're going to highlight and talk about it. This one right here is very, very important. Set trainer rarity. Higher values show trainer more often. 0 spawns no trainers. We are going to be specifically placing the trainers, so they mimic or show what's going on in the game. Again, you know, they're placed in certain areas and caves, on paths, things like that. So we want them there. This has to do with the randomness of Pixelmon and Minecraft. You just want to randomly encounter these trainers as you're going along in your journey, and the answer is 0. No, we want none of them to be there. Not a custom tab list. Wild Pokemon start battles with you, of course. If you're basically in the tall grass, you want them to be able to fight you. You want them to be able to run away if they realize you're too strong? No. So again, that's all of that part, and let's move on. Graphics, we don't really want to mess with any of the graphics kind of thing. This has to do, again, with how it's enabled on the screen, and we're going to leave them just on the thing there. We don't want to mess with the IDs. Pokeloot has to do with the randomness of, say, chests and things coming out, so we do want to make sure that we take out the grottos and the Pokeloots, because we're going to set them ourselves. Down here, allow hidden grottos to spawn in the world. We're going to go false. Allows invisible Poke chests. No, false. Allow normal visible Poke chests to spawn. No, false. This is going to bring us to spawning. So, a lot of things happening with spawning. Spawning has to do with the way Minecraft is going to randomly place Pokemon out in the world, and we want 0 of that. We don't want any Pokemon to be naturally, randomly generated out in the world, because we're going to be very much controlling the way they are with spawners. Because, you know, playing the games, routes determine where those guys are. I mean, you get one in a certain cave, you get one on a certain route, you got to go find it, that kind of thing. So that's what this has to do with us being able to control those things. So let's take a look real quick. So Gen 1, 2, and 3, we know that most of the game is going to be here in Generation 3, so we definitely want that to be true. And you know that later in the game they do kind of harken back and allow some of the 2 and some of the 1. So we're going to keep those 3 here. But since that's where we stopped, and we're going to be playing with classic Ruby and Sapphire, because at the moment excuse me, at the moment Pixelmon doesn't have the ability to do the mega stuff, so we're not going to get into that because that's what the new game is getting into. But for us, we're going to keep it on the 3, and so these 3 guys, because they didn't exist, in fact, I don't think even 6 exists anywhere. I think this is something Pixelmon did to get ready for it when they do come out. So here we go, false, false, false. Now, these next ones, these have to do with how they show up in the world. So odds of legendary spawning, well, it's going to be 0. We don't want any of them naturally spawning. Just like flying Pokemon, none of them. And land Pokemon, none. Underground Pokemon, 0. And water Pokemon, 0. This last one has to do with shinies. This still takes into account when we are using our spawners. So for every 8,192 spawns that occur, you have one chance that they're going to be shiny, and that's the natural number that comes out of actual Nintendo's Pokemon. If you on your server want to make it a little bit easier to get them, of course, reduce that number. We're going to leave it there because I said we're trying to keep it faithful to the games. So coming down to this last portion, we talked about this earlier. These are going to be the starting Pokemon, the ones that show up in the game. And the level, of course, we're going to keep it at 5, right there. And shiny, false. We're not going to get a shiny Pokemon right off the bat. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, the ones that we do want are these 3 guys, Trico, Mudkip, and Torchic. So it does keep these. So even if it does something kind of weird. If you leave one of these blank, it'll make a blank spot up on that litter board, but it puts a weird kind of error message with coming soon, and it looks unprofessional, and I just don't like it very much. And so, and even in these guys, since we said this generation was not available, it would say, I can't remember if it says denied or something along those lines, let you can't have it. In fact, that's not a bad idea. So, two ways of doing this. The way I originally planned it is we're going to put Trico every third one. That way, because remember it had 5 on the top, 5 in the middle, and 5 in the bottom. That way all the top ones are going to be Trico, all the middle ones were going to be Mudkip, and all the bottom ones are going to be Torchic. That's the one way to do it. Or you can make it so they stay right there in the middle, and all the rest of them say denied. I don't think that one looks professional. But if you wanted to do that, take one that's out of the generation that we don't currently have, like this Tepig here, and you put him in all these, and it'll say denied and not let you select that particular guy. But for me, we're going to put Trico every third one, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. So now we need Mudkip. He's going to go underneath every Trico, or I guess just replacing every water Pokemon that's up there. And same thing, Torchic fills up all the rest. And looks like I got them all. Okay, so last thing we want to do is save this file, and then we can close it down. We are done with here as well. We do need to restart Minecraft to be able to get that to load in there, so that's what we're going to do at the moment here. It's going to take me a few seconds, so I'll bring you back when it's all ready. Okay, everything's been reloaded. Let's get back in there. We are going to recreate this world here. Yeah, we'll just call it copy, create the new world. So if everything kind of laid out as we wanted it to, we should have basically nothing but grass out there. We didn't have any random Pokemon, we didn't have any random trainers, we didn't have any Poke Centers, nothing. Oh, and we had this opening beginning here too, so we should have nothing but our 3, yep, all the Tricos, all the Mudkips, and all the Torchics. They're all the same, just limiting our choices rather than having those empty spaces. I guess I could have left some out here for you to look, but you can see that on your own. So, Trico, and grass, 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 grass. Is that it? So in our brand new, yet to be discovered Hoenn world, looking out as far as we can see, there is absolutely nothing. Nothing except grass. No Pokemon were generated. Awesome. So it all worked for us. Whoa. So next time we're going to be using this big blank canvas to put together our very own Hoenn world, and I think we're going to start with the very first town, our starter town, and so join us then.
I'm gonna be the very best, like no one ever was. To find them is my real test, to tame them is my cause.